welcome. In this tutorial video, I will talk about the creation and customization of histograms in the KIWI Explore module. Histogram profiles are fairly simple and straightforward to set. They create plots for one or more continuous variables. So in this video, I will mainly talk about how you select this list of continuous variables, and also how you set the type of histogram that you want to create. I will now switch to the application. KIWI Explore and the Profile Manager have been opened for a single dataset called subset_demo.csv. This dataset is a population PK analysis dataset that we have used in previous tutorials. I will start by illustrating how you can select the list of continuous variables for which histograms are created, and I will start by showing what the global profile will do with the dataset. The global profile is the non-editable profile that contains only default settings, and in this case the default profile created three histograms, one for age, one for creatinine clearance, and one for weight. Each of these histograms included four different graphical elements: the actual histogram, the blue line represents a fitted distribution, the red dashed line represents a normal theoretical distribution with mean and standard deviation set to the calculated mean and standard deviation of the data. And finally, the data points at the bottom represent the actual observed value. There's a little bit of vertical jitter applied so that the data points do not all show on the baseline. So the question is, why did the global profile create three histograms when everything was set to default? Especially in the variable definition, this is where a custom list of covariables, continuous or categorical, could be defined. For the global variable, this field is set to all covariables. So when this field says all covariables, KIWI will query the content of the variable categorization table that is available by clicking on the configure menu and the variable categorization option. This opens this little table that we discussed in a separate tutorial. This table lists all the variables included in your dataset, and in this particular case we set age, creatinine clearance, and weight is at the bottom, weight. These were the only variables that were set to the CO category, which is the continuous covariate category or covariable category. So querying this table, KIWI extracted this list of CO variables and used those variables in the profile in the script to generate those three histograms. So that's one option. You can use this variable categorization table and the all covariable option to set your list of histograms. Alternatively, you can set a custom list of variables and bypass what was defined here. So that's what I've done in this profile. I've set just one covariable. So going to the Profile Manager and opening the variable definition, you can see that in this case I have set a single variable in the covariables panel. I use CRCL. I set the continuous field to true to indicate that it is a continuous variable. And just to illustrate this feature, I've set a custom labels, which was estimated GFR, which is reflected now in in the x-axis title. Just going quickly back to the global setting, global profile for the same CRCL variable. In this global profile, the default label and unit creatinine clearance ml per minute was used, and that information was provided by the library of labels and units set in this field. And this option, sorry. So if I go here, you can see the CRCL variable has this default label and this default unit. That was reflected here. If you provide a label in this field, it would completely bypass this information and use that custom label in your x-axis field. One thing that you may want to do also when you're creating custom histograms is reflect on the data subset that you want to use. The default behavior of KIWI Explorer is to use the entire content of your dataset. So you can imagine that for a population PK analysis dataset, we had many records per patient, and the CRCL variable was defined many times per subject. So if you want to reflect some form of distribution based upon one value per subject, you can go to the data subset panel and set the keep field to first record per subject. The functionality of this data subset panel has been discussed in a separate tutorial, which I invite you to watch and learn how you can use the different fields to control the subset of data used for plotting. So the final settings that I want to illustrate for histograms are settings that define the style of histogram and the component of the graphical component shown in the histogram. You can create 3 different types of histograms. You can create density histograms, which is the default. So what you display here is the density of data, the sum of the areas of these histograms roughly equal 1. The alternative to style or types of histograms are histograms that show count or percentage of records. I will show that in the next profile. Coming back to the density, you can control which elements are shown on top of the histogram. So you will always see a histogram, a density histogram, but you can control whether or not you want to display the fitted distribution, the actual data values, and the theoretical distribution. So those three options are available in the last 3 fields of the basic settings panel. Setting those fields to false will hide the related item. So if you want to display a histogram that show a count of record per interval of your x-axis variable, you just have to go to the basic settings panel and set this field to count. Alternatively, you can set that to % to show the data as a percentage of the overall record count. When you set a histogram to count, you may actually want to consider creating a bar chart instead. Bar charts will also give you the ability to show data, or the count of record, for interval of a continuous axis variable. you need to set a little bit more fields than a histogram, but you will get additional information such as the count, the actual count for each bars, and will also give you some cumulative counts and percentages overall. So you get a little bit more information for using bar chart when you really want to have access to a count or frequency of records. So with that, this concludes our presentation of the histograms profiles in KIWI Explorer. Thank you very much.